Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us on News at Prime. The SA Cabin Crew Association has expressed shock and disappointment after Mango Airlines licenses were suspended for 2 years. The low-cost carrier has been in business rescue for the past year. The news comes after reports out of the aviation sector showing that Mango may have found an interested investor. For more on this story, we're joined by pilot and aviation expert Phuthego Mojapele. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Before we talk about the exciting part about the investor, I think perhaps it's important to just understand the process. A company that went into voluntary business rescue last year in July already, and now the suspension of its license, which is something, of course, I think would need a bit more clarity, just depth on understanding what it essentially means.
Yeah, thank you very much, and your viewers at home. I think this is it's a procedural decision. When you are an operator and you are not utilizing that license that has been issued, so effectively you render your services, you no longer render the services that you were appointed to do. Yes. And effectively the licensing council will suspend that license until you can prove to them that you are able to operate as per your application, because you apply. For you to get the license to operate, you apply, and there's means and needs that you need to fulfill. And if you are not able to fulfill those, the license is not granted. So they have been granted this license to operate with, and they are not able to do that. Hence, you see the council taking a decision to suspend the license. But it's not anything out of ordinary. It is expected. They have also, CAA also took the license, the AOC from them, but they will apply when they are ready to fly. At the moment, they are not flying, so it's fine. Let anybody who wants to fly utilize that, must come in place and take the opportunity and fly.
Yeah, and we're also now learning of a potential bidder who has presented proof of funding and saying that this was all according to the Business Rescue Practitioners report, speaking about this process. And I understand that the deadline is the 10th of August for this proof to be shown and provide a bank guarantee for the purchase. With this process, you know, where to from here? Because this airline has essentially not been flying for quite some time.
So what will happen now is that they need to go back to the licensing council and apply for reinstatement of the license, operating license, which would be given or reissued based on what they would have presented before them. But at this stage, they are not operating, and there's no way that they can keep that license. If DPE and their potential bidder, who seems to be very keen to take over the airline, prove that they will be able to maintain the routes that would be issued by licensing council, then it's as simple as that they need to comply like anybody who will apply and get appointed and continue to render the services. There's nothing really, I need to just point out that this is a process that is normal. It is not alarming as people seems to be saying. It is a law. Law is a law, and it has to be applicable. Whether you are a state-owned airline or you are privately owned, it has to be applicable. If they are not using those routes, they must release them so that anybody who wants to use them must take them and offer that service. So they will apply and be given opportunity if they do meet the requirements that are stipulated by the council.
The aviation space, and of course perhaps looking specifically at the low-cost airlines, we've seen what ComairsKalula.com has done, and the domestic part of British Airways flights, leaving a gap in the market. I mean, you speak about how some of these things are not as alarming, but they do leave a gap for opportunity when it comes to other flights and you know, success in other operations. Why then is it such a massive challenge? And we're seeing so many of them going down. I mean, they go up and down, but it doesn't seem to show a sense of stability within the space. And that, in its end, is affecting the consumer, who has to pay a little bit more for flights which ordinarily wouldn't cost as much. Yeah,
look, aviation space, it's a very difficult to run. That business, it's just a difficult one to run. I mean, if you take an example of South African Airways, which owned by government. Government has all the money, and they're not even able to get it going as it's supposed to. But one needs to point it out that for us in South Africa, where we are positioned, you look at the market or African market, and you look at the regional, and you look at the domestic, whether we've got that capacity in terms of passenger volume. Those things, they do count a lot. You've got months that are barely, you have limited numbers. But airlines, in its nature, they do go through these kind of challenges. Whether do we have system in place to assist them when the situation like this comes? I mean, you look at in the UK, the airlines in UK have been assisted privately so, and from the government, and many other countries like America and so on. But here in South Africa, unfortunately, we don't have system in place to assist the airlines that are finding themselves getting into a little bit of trouble. And also how the people that you appoint to run those airlines, do they understand the business? That's another question that we need to answer. And whether the models that they have implemented, is it something that will resonate with the masses of the country? Why don't we have the systems? I mean, it seems like we're capable. So is it not as easy as just applying your mind and learning from other countries and getting it right? We do have good systems. Like I'm saying, the kind of caliber of people that you have on board to run these airlines, do they have what it takes to run the airlines? Do they understand the market, the international market? Because some of the decisions, they really, you question yourself if people do they understand what they're doing? And, you would really realize that half of the time it's not what you think it is. Yeah. You and I are speaking on the eve of Women's Day, and I understand that within the aviation space, significant strides have been made by women who are really showing that they are capable and doing tremendous work when it comes to the space in its entirety. Yeah, South Africa has done very well in empowering women in aviation. When you look at the entire regulatory CAA, it's led by a woman, Poppy Khoza. She has been in many. She has received many accolades around the world. She has been in many platforms and doing so well in terms of, pushing the agendas of the women, not just the women, but also putting South Africa on the map internationally. And when you look at AXA is led by another woman, Pumi Mpofu. She's also has been around in the industry for quite some time in the transport sector. And ATNS, Air Traffic Navigational Services, is also led by a woman. But we still have a little bit of a problem where the private sectors, they're not really coming out there to also demonstrate their initiative in empowering women. So before, when you talk about the positions of power within the aviation space, I mean, I assume also you're talking beyond the cabin crew staff, like more female pilots. Yeah. I don't think I've ever been on a plane driven by a female pilot. At SAA now, we have a first black captain, woman black captain at SAA, Annabelle Bundla. She has been appointed. And there's so many of others that are there. Even at Airlink, they've got a few white captain women at Airlink. And I think we are doing well. We've got a lot of first officers that are, there pushing to get into the captain positions. But we still have a long way to go as a country. We still have a long way. We still need chief engineers, aircraft maintenance engineers and so on. That needs to be appointed in critical positions so that we can advance the position of women in South Africa. I think the country has done so well in that respect, because if you have people that are able to steer the ship, the manner in which they're doing, we still need to see more of them coming, and I think the government has done very well in that regard.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in studio to speaking to us there. Phuthego Mojapele, pilot and aviation expert, speaking about some of the strides that have been made in the sector, and also, of course, the details around low-cost airline Mango.